Guys, come on back. It was just one game. It wasn't that bad. And look, it was pretty quick. You got to admit, so we can get some more games in. Come on. Look, all it was my Wolverine, the best there is at losing friends, deck tech coming right up. Welcome to Wizards Whimsy. I'm your host, Patrick. Today we are going over the final in the Marvel Superhero series, and this is Wolverine, the best there is. Now, as you can see, I have the Secret Lair pack right here on the desk. I'll try to make sure to keep the glare off best I can as we build this deck, but it has not been opened, so we're going to go ahead and crack right into that and see what we have. Well, that was anticlimactic there. Yeah, it just didn't want to. All right, so we got a little thank you card. And then the actual cards. These are non-foil. So let's go ahead and take a look and we'll see which ones we're using. So Wolverine, the best there is. You can get a good look at him. We have Berserk, Rite of Passage, Rhythm of the Wild. As you can see here, I love that artwork. Adamantium Bonding Tank, or the Obelisk. So, and then Unnatural Growth foil. If you're wondering what this other stuff is here, well, this is kind of my deck building process. I will go through and I will pull a ton of cards, as you can see right here. This is the cards that I pulled. This is the cards that I ended up keeping for the deck. I wanted you to see my process as I build decks. So I will go through and I will pull a bunch of cards that I feel go with the deck or how I might want to build it. So we will be building Wolverine, the best there is at losing friends. Now, why do you say the best there is at losing friends? Well, I'm glad you asked that question, honestly, because guess what? We're building him Infect. So if you look at these cards, these are pretty much all the cards. I do have to cut a couple to fit in, but if we get here to this creature base, Atali, Primal Conqueror, that flips over to have Trample Indestructible, and he gives players poison counters. So, of course, we have the Tarask, Questing Beach, Endrazor Runner. We have some Mana Dorks, Ill-Tempered Loner. That way we can pop people, especially if they have Infect. Growing Rites of Iklamog. So we got some of our enchantments. Unnatural Growth. Of course, we're going to use the one from the Wolverine deck. So I'm scooting through all these cards right here because I did not put them in a very good order. I do have them in order, so we'll go through the creatures real quick. What we have here is Vault-Born Tyrant, little dinosaur that lets us draw cards with big creatures. Vexing Shusher, so that our spells, we can make them uncounterable. Axebane Ferox has Death Touch Haste and Ward Collect Evidence 4, so to collect evidence, have to exile cards from their graveyard with a mana value 4 or greater. Uvenwald Oddity. Now, the reason he's in here, Trample and Haste, we transform him. Other creatures you control get +1/+1 and have Trample and Haste. I'm trying to make sure that I keep these where the glare's not on them too bad. Goldvein Hydra. So if he dies, guess what? We get some treasures. Tyrannix Rex. This spell can't be counter trample. Ward 4 haste, has toxic 4. Finn the Fangbearer, along with Orin Frostfang, which will make all of our creatures have death touch and will put poison counters. So key cards right there. But have no fear, because our creatures themselves actually have Infect. We got Blight Mamba, Ichor Claw Mirror, Cyst Bearer, Putrefax, Tel'Gallad Fallen, Phyrexian Hydra, Blight Widow, Viridin Corruptor, Viridin Betrayers, Fallen Pharaohmancer, Phyrexian Swarmlord, Spinebiter, Paladin of Predation, Tyrannix Atrocity, and Venerated Rot Priest. Now, those are the creatures that we're using, along with Wolverine, the best there is at losing friends. The artifacts that we have: Rib Skiff, it has Toxic 2 and Crew 3. When it enters the battlefield, we get to draw a card. Grafted Exoskeleton, it gives our equipped creature Infect. If Grafted Exoskeleton comes unattached, you do have to sacrifice the creature that it was attached to. Lithoform Engine, so one of the things that we can use this for is to actually make copies of our permanents. So as long as they're not legendary, we can make copies of them. The Great Hinge, it puts counters on our creatures as they enter, and also adds 2 mana, gains 2 life, and it lets us draw. Of course, we have Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Mind's Eye, which is a great artifact because you can pay 1 whenever an opponent would draw a card, and if you do, you draw a card as well. Stone of Eric. This is a way that we don't have to worry about our opponent's creatures when they die. And then Swiftfoot Boots, so that we can protect, Finn the Fangbearer or Orin Frostreef, whatever that we need to protect to keep from being destroyed. Besides Rhythm of the Wild and Unnatural Growth, the only other card that we'll be using is Berserk. We might try to put in the Obelisk or Adamantium Bonding Tank, but that's not a priority. All right, we're going to go over the instants and sorceries. So we have Overcome, which creatures you control get +2/+2 and gain trample until end of turn. Noxious Assault, creatures you control get +2/+2 until end of turn. Whenever a creature blocks this turn, its controller gets a poison counter. So whenever no matter what, your opponent will get a poison counter. Friendly Rivalry, target creature you control and up to 1 other target legendary creature you control each deal damage equal to their power to target creature you don't control. So you don't have to worry about losing your creature whenever you have them fight. Of course, we have Heroic Intervention, Chaos Warp. So we have Ram Through, which target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. If the creature you control has trample, excess damage is dealt to that creature's controller instead. So as long as we're hitting with one of our Infect creatures, the damage that goes over, that will be Infect damage, and they'll get poison counters. So it's one of the tricks that we can use, especially if, say, there's a board wipe, and maybe we can take someone out. So Smuggler Surprise is one of those spree cards, and what we're trying to do here is actually have a creature with power 4 or greater. We'll give it hexproof and indestructible. So hopefully we get our creatures bigger so that they get hexproof and indestructible. Overprotect, so that we can protect one of our key creatures. Autumn's Veil, which we're using to protect our spells. Snakeskin Veil puts a counter and also gives hexproof. Valakut Awakening so that we can get a new hand. So one of the main things that we want to do is we want to keep cards in our hands, but if we need to, we can always play it as a land. So if we're missing a land drop, we can always use this as a land. Horrific Assault. It's a sorcery. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker you don't control. If you control an Eldrazi, you gain 3 life. Prey Upon. Target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. Bite Down on Crime. Target creature you control gets +2/+0 until end of turn. It deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. You can reduce the cost of this if you collect evidence. So if you collect evidence 6 with this card, you can actually have it cost 2 less, so it would actually cost 2. Hunter's Edge. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Then that creature deals damage equal to its power to creature you don't control. So it's a way that we can remove creatures from our opponents, and we don't have to worry about losing our creature. And then, of course, we have Scale Up, which we can make all of our creatures have a base power and toughness of 6/4. So if we can do that and give them trample, we'll win the game. We will be using Rhythm of the Wild from the set. We'll also be using Growing Rites of Iklamog. That way we can get more mana, and we can also find some creatures to put in our hands. Now, one way to protect from flyers, we're using Raking Canopy. So as long as the creature that's flying that's attacking us has a toughness 4 or less, it will die. Guardian Project, again, it's just a draw mechanic that we're using so that we can actually get these cards and keep our hands full as we cast. So we'll instantly replace whatever creature we cast. We'll actually replace a card in our hand. Beastmaster Ascension, it's a way to have all of our creatures get +5/+5 if we swing all out, which we will be doing, because our whole thing is to get in and infect our opponents and have them die to poison. Goliath Hatchery will give us 3/3 Phyrexian Beast with Toxic 3. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, if an opponent has 3 or more poison counters, choose a creature you control, then draw cards equal to its toxic value. Bedlam, because we don't want their creatures blocking. Of course, we can't block as well, but they got to do a lot of damage to us where we only have to do 10 to them. So that's the whole goal here, is to make it where their creatures can't block, and we just go in and just kill them with Infect. Exploration, so that we can play in additional lands on turns. Concordant Crossroads, to give all of our creatures haste. Hunter's Talent, when it comes in, a target creature we control deals damage to a creature we don't control. So if it's Wolverine, we'll be getting some counters. Then if we level it up, creatures we control, whenever they attack, attacking creatures get +1/+0 and gain trample until end of turn. And then if we get it all the way up at the beginning of our end step, if we control a creature with power 4 or greater, we get to draw a card. So again, it's about us being able to keep our hands full and get into our infect creatures and the ability to just get in there and get that damage in. Then we have Nature's Will. Whenever 1 or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, tap all lands that player controls and untap all lands you control. So if we go to combat and we know we have a control player, we can actually attack them, tap their lands down, and then untap our land so that we can cast more spells and not have to worry about them getting countered, unless of course they're running the free counter spells. Finally, we have Master Chef. Now, Master Chef, commanders we control, when they enter, they get a +1/+1 counter, and of course when other creatures we control enter, they also get a +1/+1 counter. So that is the meat and potatoes of Wolverine, the best there is at losing friends. So if you're wanting to punish your play group and wanting them to back off on your play style, if you hit them with Infect, well, they'll probably not invite you back again. But It's still a fun build, and I can't wait to actually use this on my play group. I know that they're not going to like it because, again, it is Infect, and apparently nobody likes Infect unless they're the ones running it. There's nothing real special about the lands. I mean, we have a lot of lands that we'll tap for multiple colors. We do have some basic lands. And like I said, multiple colors. If Wolverine dies too many times, we can always put him back in our hand and then cast him for his original casting cost. If for some reason we need to make our creature unblockable, we have Rogue's Passage. If someone steals our creature and wants to hit us with our own creature to give us Infect, we have Homeward Path to get those creatures back. A couple of little fetch lands to get basics. Some creature lands. Lands that will actually make little 1/1 infectors, and a way that we can buff one of our creatures and give them trample, and some hasty lands, some lands that we can give our creatures haste with if we don't have a way to already give them haste. That's pretty much the land base. Like I said, we have a lot of lands that will tap for our colors, either red or green, or ways that we can go and fetch for some of the basics. I did not go all out on this. Wanted to keep it relatively cheap. So I hope you like this, and let me know what you think about having a deck tech done in this style so that you can actually see the physical cards and it's not digital cards, or do you think I need to go back to the digital cards? Hey, thanks for checking out this deck tech. It means a lot to me that you took the time to look at it. I know I presented it in a different way than what I normally do, and I want your thoughts on that and feedback. So one of the things that I have set for a goal for next year is to actually film games and players at the same time. And this was just a test run of being able to shoot the table as well as a player. And I wanted to do it and present a deck tech. And let me know what your thoughts are on the way that I presented this. Is this something that you'd like to see more of going forward? Or would you rather go back to the old style of just having a digital card pop up over here? I'd love some feedback on that, or maybe a combination of both where I'm presenting the real cards and then I can have a digital card pop up. I would love some feedback on that as well. And, I hope that you have a great holiday season. I did present Wolverine the best there is at losing friends because, Infect, a lot of people do not like Infect. Well, most people don't like it unless they're the ones that are actually playing it, right? It's something fun to do, but it's not fun when it's done to you. So if you actually do build this deck, make sure you let your play group know that you are running Infect, and that way maybe you can save some of those friendships, or maybe you want to get rid of those friendships, and this is the way to do it, is to run some Infect on them. Now, it's all well and good, it's all fun, but make sure that you are having that conversation with your play group. When my play group watches this video, as soon as I pull out Wolverine, they'll know what they're in for. So this is my conversation to my play group that, whenever I'm pulling out Wolverine, it is an Infect deck, so be prepared. I hope everyone has a great holiday season, and I look forward to seeing your comments and interacting with you. And until next time, keep slinging those spells.